Look! Look, the dynamic duo!
Hey guys, and welcome to the Dynamic Duo. I'm Franz.
I'm Kevin. Welcome back to Avengers Tower and the Batcave, ladies and gentlemen.
Kevin, there's lots to talk about. Actually, a lot to talk about. But let's talk about the latest thing that's blowing up the internet, which is the Oscars and Will Smith's smack heard around the world.
Okay.
Did you see it, and what did you think?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I have an interesting school of thought on this, and I'm gonna say that it's interesting right off the back.
Okay.
I see all sides of this, but I also maybe by a lot of people's point of views, maybe my view is also skewed. And let me start out by saying this. Part of why I think the incident even happened is something that the rest of the world is not aware of. There has been some ongoing and ongoing friction between Will Smith, Chris Rock, and Jada Pinkett for almost 2.5 years now. I'm not even sure how or why a lot of that part of it started, and I'm admitting that. I do know that a portion of it started when she started to do her Red Table talk show on YouTube. The specifics of it, I'm not sure, but I do know that it started around that time. I also know that Chris crossed the line on a few occasions where he started talking about their kids. And I honestly believe, aside from the fact that where the incident took place, which was last night's Oscar telecast, I think honestly between Will and Jada, and I am not completely defending Will, and nor am I supporting Chris Rock, but I honestly believe that basically what happened is that over the last 2 years or so, Will simply snapped. And instead of being Will Smith, the performer that everybody knows, Will became Will Smith, the man from Philadelphia, defending his wife, defending his family, his wife's reputation, his own reputation, and decided, I've had enough of this. My wife and family has had enough of this, and laid one on him. Now, within that, and this is why I say that maybe my view is a little skewed, I look at it like this. And this more or less is from the point of view of Chris Rock as well as the Academy. I don't even know if I would have had Chris Rock there last night. I think that was poor judgment on the Academy. The last time Chris Rock was there, he was the host. If memory serves, Chris hosted that show twice for them. And on both occasions, there were problems and issues that came out of his mouth and from his behavior. I don't know why the Academy had him on there last night, because the fact is, although he is not the only blue comedian they've ever had, they know from Jump Street that Chris Rock is very blue and he's very adult. That doesn't excuse what he did and what he said by any means. But I do not understand a lot of the shock that people are having of, how could Chris say this? Why did he say it? This is typical Chris Rock. This is the same thing that we've seen and heard from this man for his entire career. So why people are acting like, oh my goodness, it happened, I don't understand that part. Now, one other quick thing that I do want to add is that although Will hit him, I don't think he threw a haymaker at him.
Absolutely.
If he had, Chris would have hit the floor.
Okay.
Will is bigger than him. He's got more muscle mass. Chris is thin and he's small. If Will really wanted to hurt him, he could have, and he would have. Anybody that feels that what happened last night was faked is fooling themselves.
No.
It wasn't faked at all. There was nothing about what happened faked. I do question part of the audience's reaction, however, because a very good friend of mine pointed out that when he did and said what he did, meaning Chris Rock, the audience broke up and laughed. So in that sense, I think maybe that even added to the exasperation that Will felt, because it was an immediate thing of how and why was what this man just said funny. And I think that helped push him to his breaking point. Now, not to drone on about this forever, do I think there are going to be issues behind it? Yeah. One of the major things that happens with the Academy and with the Oscars, excuse me, is that once the award show has happened, one of the things that does take place is that the winners do a press junket, and they also do the talk show circuit in the process. Right now, I don't think anybody is going to book Will, even if they're applauding him for what he did last night, because it will be seen as, how do you even handle such an interview for somebody like a Jimmy Kimmel, a Jimmy Fallon, or on down the line for one of the morning shows? How do you even talk to Will without bringing this up and creating a bigger problem as a possibility? Do I think anybody's going to want to talk to Chris Rock currently? Hell no.
No, you think?
Not in the least. I really don't think so.
Not,
go ahead.
Not even for the sensationalism of it. In other words, you know, right now, if you get to talk to Chris Rock, you know you're going to have a huge audience type of thing.
I think both of them are going to have to wait within the space of what the audience saw. Eventually, yes, I believe both of them will be back. I just don't think it's going to be immediate.
Well,
that's my take on it.
That's, you know, again, that's why I love you, is because I always end up appreciating your take. I always end up agreeing with your take, and we're never too far apart in our thinking. To me, this is a very complicated issue, very deep and very complex, much complex than most people give it credit for. People think, oh, it smacked them, blah, blah, blah. Actually, it's much more complex. For me, it is than that. It as you said, it goes back far, and it raises a lot of questions. It raises a lot of questions as to what is right, what is wrong, what is the proper thing to do, and so on and so forth. The easy answer and the accurate answer, the true answer is, Will should not have done what he did. It was over the top. It was inappropriate. It affects his standing as a up-and-standing actor, gentleman. It affected the Academy Awards and stained the Academy Awards. It was a negative reflection of a Black man reinforcing the stereotype of violence and so on and so forth. So we can say categorically that as a matter of fact, what he did was wrong. Violence is never the answer, you know, all the wonderful hindsight things. We could even say that Will could and should have handled it in a much better way, in a much more mature way, in a much more sophisticated way. Perhaps he could have gotten up and instead of smacking him, he could have made a speech explaining how hurtful what Chris did. But those are wonderful hindsight moments. What we have to understand is there's the immediacy of the urgency. And as such, I look at it much like you in two different ways. I look at it from Will Smith's point of view, and I look at it from Chris Rock's point of view. And from Chris Rock's point of view, here's the way I see it. People react to physical violence in a way that's deserved. In other words, physical violence is a negative and ugly thing that should not be accepted by any stretch of the imagination. There's no excuse for physical violence. But a lot of physical violence, the harm that's done is not the actual physical pain. It's rather the humiliation of the attack. You said something very, very important and very, very true. Will Smith did not punch him. Will Smith smacked him. And there's a very big difference. Will Smith, as a bigger man, could have punched Chris Rock. He did not. He smacked him. And that smack, the hurt of it is not the physical hurt. I mean, it hurts, it stings for a little bit, but Chris could, you know, he could take it without any problems. You could play around and get more hurt than that slap, or if you're play fighting. The hurt, the harm that's caused by that slap is more so the emotional humiliation that Chris Rock suffered in that moment. That's what that pain is, okay? So physical abuse and verbal abuse, to me, they rank fairly close. Unless, of course, you put the person in a hospital, unless, of course, you kill the person, or I'm not talking about that level, okay? I'm talking about physical abuse that is more harm to the person's psyche and person's character. If I grab you and put you up against the wall, that is an ugly and abusive thing to do, but less from a physical point of view than it is from a mental point of view. As such, we have to be careful because you can inflict that type of pain without the physical. So, for example, let's give the varying examples. I could punch you physically and you could be knocked down, but you're okay, but it hurts a lot. That's humiliating. I could smack you. You won't be knocked down, as Chris Rock wasn't. It won't hurt as much and for as long, but the humiliation is the same. The hurt is the same. The trauma is the same. A lot of women who are in an abusive relationship could tell you what I'm telling you. You don't have to punch me to hurt me. I could grab you and put you up against a wall and actually not cause any physical harm, and still the trauma is the same. Guess what else I can do, Kevin? I can verbally, I can come up in front of you, dominate you and humiliate you with my words and cause the same level of pain and the same level of humiliation. And I think that's what people don't understand. We look at what happened yesterday and a lot of people are like shocked and horrified. Oh my God, how could Will do that? Oh my God, Will is tarnishing his career and Will is, oh, that's inappropriate. But you know what I think? I think that what Chris Rock did is the equivalent of what Will did. Mm-hmm. I think that Chris Rock verbally slapped Will Smith yesterday. He did it publicly. He did it in front of the world. I think that what he did humiliated Will as a man, as a husband, as a father, as an individual. He smacked him. It is the equivalent to me as if Chris Rock had come on stage, walked down the stage, walked in front of Will Smith, smacked him in the face, and went back and continued to do a dialogue. It would have been equally shocking to me and equally wrong. And therefore, that's how I'm reacting to it. I'm reacting to it like, whoa, now Chris Rock just smacked the guy in front of the world. What then can you expect that guy to do? How do you expect him to react? Now, I said this is a complicated issue. Do I mean to say that that was Chris Rock's intent? Do I mean to say that Chris Rock is an a-hole who wants to hurt and humiliate? I would probably bet that that wasn't his intent. I would probably bet that in his mind, he's just making a joke. But what people need to understand is that jokes can hurt. Jokes can humiliate. Chris Rock had made comments on Jada Smith's character in 2016 in a prior Oscar, humiliating her, saying she was boycotting the Oscars, and he said something like, her boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna. In other words, she doesn't want me anymore, than the Oscars want Jada Smith. That's a humiliating thing. Like, bro, like, why? Okay, all right, so you do it, you get away with it. Other little comments are made, as you said, throughout the years. And it gets to the point where it adds up, bro. It adds up. And now you take my wife who's suffering from alopecia. It's a traumatic experience for women to lose their hair. It's not a choice. It's not a style. It's a painful thing that she has had to deal with. And you're calling her out on stage. To me, that is a verbal slap. It is as hurtful, as harmful as what Will did. And so, despite not meaning it is not an excuse. What if Chris Rock had come down the stage, smacked Will in the face hard and said, no, I'm just joking, dude. I didn't mean to. Come on, man, I didn't mean that. Is that enough of an excuse? Not meaning it is not enough of an excuse. It's what you did. And when you do that, you have to be prepared to reap the consequences. I'm sorry to say that. You have to be prepared to reap the consequences. And Will Smith, I think that given the fact that Will Smith has been suffering from another thing that I want to bring up, which is, and he mentioned that on his speech, people think that because you're a celebrity, I can take any shot at you. I can just humiliate you. And it's what Ben Affleck has been going through. Remember, we did a show on Ben Affleck, and I talked about the emotional stress that the guy was feeling and how it came out of him. That's why he gave up on Batman. That's why he drinks. That's why, it's humiliating. And you have to sit there and take it and take it and take it, And I don't think that's right. I don't think it's okay for people to just say anything to anyone just because they're a celebrity. And I think that it builds up to the point where some people take drugs, some people commit suicide, and some people blow up. It's like, enough is enough already, bro. Enough is enough. Like, I'm not your what's the expression? Your kicking stool, whatever it is. Yeah, whipping. I'm not your whipping boy. And you're coming at my wife in a very personal way in front of my face. Bro, you're going to have to deal with the consequences. I'm going to have to man up and see where it goes. And credit to Will and discredit to Will. Don't get me wrong. In no way, shape, or form is what I'm saying. Am I trying to say Will's reaction was the right reaction? It was not the right reaction. He should have handled it in a better way. It was not the right, I cannot reinforce it, but I understand what my point is. I know where it's coming from, and I know who started it. And the same way that if Chris Rock had smacked Will and he went on a tirade cursing and calling Chris all kinds of names, that would have been the wrong reaction too. My focus wouldn't be on the Will's reaction. It would be on, dude, why did you smack him? My focus is, dude, why did you go there on the guy on that stage? And if you do, get ready to deal with the consequences. And so that's discredit to Will. He shouldn't have done it. But credit to Will, he smacked him instead of punched him. that's a statement. It was a quid pro, not, it was a, equivalent type of reaction. In other words, you smacked me, you verbally smacked me. I'm going to physically smack you to make you feel the impact of what you just did to me. Again, I'm stressing that is not the right reaction. I'm not advising anyone to do that as an action, but I'm telling you that I get it. I get where it's coming from. And Chris Rock should take responsibility for that action. And Chris Rock should apologize to Will Smith, and Will Smith should apologize back to Chris Rock. That's my take on it.
I agree with you 100%. And my brother, I applaud you. If you will allow me, I want to add one more thing. The actions of both of them last night, and you mentioned this at the beginning of the conversation, it's tainted the Oscars.
Yeah.
And it's tainted the thing for what is going to be a long time. Okay. I don't know if anybody noticed or was listening well enough to realize that for the documentary award, after the whole excuse me, punching thing happened, when he announced that Questlove had won the documentary award, he was very disrespectful to the people that helped Quest make that movie happen. Do you realize?
Forgive me, I didn't watch the rest of it. I didn't see that part. So tell me what happened. And who disrespected whom?
Chris Rock completely disrespected Questlove and the folks that he worked with to do the or within winning the documentary award, because he turned around, he opened the envelope and said, "Man, I hope this is true." He read, "The winner is Questlove and 4 white guys."
Oh,
that's what he said.
Oh my God.
Okay, this is why I say, in their own little way, the Academy itself is somewhat responsible for what happened last night. Because it's not that I would never have Chris Rock back, but in a very weird way, I wouldn't have had him there last night. I don't even feel that a lot of what they did within the show's structure was done correctly. I'm not kidding, and I'm not trying to overemphasize this, but there were a number of things that they did last night that I just thought were out and out wrong within the show's production itself.
Interesting.
2 things that I want to point out. When Regina Hall, Wanda Sykes, and Amy Schumer took the stage at the very beginning of the show, and I know this may be a small thing in certain people's eyes, but I just didn't see it that way. The 3 women walked out, and Wanda Sykes and Regina Hall were both wearing white. Amy Schumer was wearing black. My question is, why would you separate them that way?
Interesting.
Why couldn't all 3 women either be wearing different colored material, period, or why couldn't all 3 of them be wearing white, or why couldn't all 3 of them be wearing black?
You're going deep, bro. You are going deep. You are good.
Thank you, but there's one other little thing I want to point out. They did a tribute to The Godfather last night. The person that came out to announce the arrival of Francis Ford Coppola, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro happened to be Diddy. I would have never done that. Production-wise, I would have never done it. I am not a fan of Diddy or his work. He doesn't impress me. He's never done anything that made me stand up and applaud him in any way, shape, or form. But that's my personal take on what he does within rap and the entertainment world. However, I would have taken into account that Diddy has been associated with a lot of negative material, and the man has gone to court for breaking the law. And at one point during his career, of course, he was associated with the deaths of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. I would have never had Diddy come out and do, even though he was only out there for a few minutes, I would have never had him introduce anything relating to the anniversary of The Godfather. I personally see that as you're slapping anybody that was Black or connected to rap. And if I'm digging too deep, then forgive me, you're slapping them in the face, because you're basically saying, let the guy who's been accused of criminal activity involve himself with honoring The Godfather.
Which is I'm trying to make the connection. The Godfather, a criminal activity type movie.
Have you ever seen The Godfather?
Of course I have.
The whole thing revolves around the mob.
The mob, yeah, of course.
They're killing.
So in other words, you're taking a young Black guy who in many ways was associated with some illegal stuff, and you're trotting him out to celebrate, a crime that celebrates the mob, which is illegal stuff. I see. It could have been a lot worse, by the way. In other words, I'm giving the audience an example of what you mean, which is to say, it's like having 50 Cent or Snoop Dogg celebrating Scarface. It's like that's not what we need at this stage of the game.
Nope.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. You went deep, man. You went very, very deep. And I've often thought about whether or not we should do political discussions on this show. And I want to stay away from it. I want to keep it light. I want to make it comic books and whatever. But you brought up a lot of really deep issues that are worthy of discussion and worthy of thought and worthy for people to be educated by. It's so much so that, we'd have to do another show about it. And, because you're absolutely right. And trust me when I tell you, I get the points that you make. You're right. That separation, those are subtle but real things. Why are we separating Amy Schumer from the rest? Aren't we trying to live in a better world that has that full inclusivity? Isn't that what the goal is supposed to be? What is the message that you're being brought up? What is the subtle message of a P. Diddy? And P. Diddy was not as negatively associated as the Snoop Dogg and the 50 Cents and all that other stuff, but there is that negative association, and it is celebrated. I get all that. Another issue that's raised as well is the notion that anything can be said as long as it's comedy. I can say anything as long as it's comedy. I disagree with that. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Now, I think you can deal with any subject in terms of comedy. I think you can say a lot of things within comedy, but you have to be careful how you say it and what you're trying to convey. Yeah, I could make a joke that appears sexist, but it has a deeper meaning behind it, that has a point behind it. But I can't just be a sexist pig. I can't just be a racist and say kill all the N-words and get away with that. I don't think, while a lot of topics can and should be addressed, you still got to be careful in how you say things and what you're saying. And for the people who are like, oh, politically correct, this is anti-politically correct, and blah, 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 cancel culture. As I've said in the show many, many times, those are the first people who get upset when something is impolitically correct said about them, right? They go crazy, Oh, you're calling me racist, how dare you? But I thought we could say anything we wanted, you know what I mean? And so it's a very complicated, and that's what I said at the beginning. It's a very complex and a very deep issue. And if we were to dive full in, we would go really, we'd go societal, we'd go racism, we'd go, we'd go, it would go very, very, very deep. Ultimately,
I apologize for crossing the line.
No, you did not. No, it's brilliant, and I apologize for not delving deeper, because it does merit delving deeper. It changes the nature of the show. It makes the show longer, blah, blah, blah. But it is, no, you shouldn't apologize. I should apologize to you. I should be like Chris Rock apologizing to you. But ultimately, listen, it happened. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think they're both going to move on. There's going to be a little period of whatever, but I think they're both going to move on with their careers. I don't think it ruins Will Smith's career. I don't think it does. I don't think it ruins Chris Rock's career. One other point I'll say is this. This is another level, another layer of how this is wrong and complicated. And forgive me now for going on, but this is actually a very important point. And we need to look at things three-dimensionally. We really do. Point of view. What people may not know about Chris Rock is that Chris Rock is a bullied person. He grew up in a very bullied environment where he suffered abuse. And that bullying had a traumatic effect on his psyche. He carries that with him. And he honestly and earnestly talked about that on many different programs. And so for that guy to experience that physical threat was traumatic. It is a traumatic thing that I would venture to guess is going to stay with him for perhaps the rest of his life, because that's a very shocking and horrible thing that happened to him, to be smacked in the face in front of the world and to not do anything about it. It's another form of bullying, and I feel bad for him that he did that. And in no way am I excusing what Will Smith did, but that's what he started it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did it to Will Smith, causing pain that has also a history, right? And that caused a reaction that caused him pain. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So complicated issues. Guys, let us know what you think. Let us know if you think we're right or wrong, or if you agree or disagree. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
We'll be here when you get back.